first game of the Six Nations was on Friday. I suppose we'll go through that, which was the curtain raiser in Paris, which, what a game that was. It was
a curious one.
Ludicrous. Because, like, from a Wales point of view, awful way to start the tournament. They were dreadful in the first half. Dreadful.
Yeah, off the pace, for sure.
Dropping balls, very loose, structureless mistakes, kicks on the full. France started at 1,000,000 miles an hour, had Para in there to try and play a lot of their big men in. Many people were noting it over the course of the game. It was the heaviest test pack ever selected.
Yeah,
well over 900 and something kilos, nearly a ton, nearly the ton in there, and yet they decided to play a game that was fast and loose and wide and quick and getting the ball.
It's a curious sort of dilemma or sort of catch-22 of this French team at the moment, because I was certainly strongly critical of them in the build up to this week. I was thinking, their squad selection is wrong. There doesn't seem to be any consistency. I mean, this has all been backed up by revelations, which we'll get into from about Van Mahina and Camille Chat, that are just truly depressing. But there doesn't seem to be any real structure there. And no consistency either. No consistency of selection, no consistency of anything. And they've put together this sort of hodgepodge team, which
with a few talented players in there, no doubt, and exciting prospects. And they did play with speed. They scored a couple of good tries.
The catch-22, they have to make the game unstructured and chaotic. Because they don't have a structure to combat the structure that other teams have.
Yeah.
And they were very successful in doing that. And they like, you talk about tempo being such a valuable thing in a game. They dictated the tempo. They made the game crazy. They were, every time they had the ball, they were flooding areas, very narrow areas of the field with loads of players, which messes up any defensive system. They had maybe in the tram lines, they had maybe 4 or 5 offensive players running little screens and little plays and little angles off each other. In that, everything is heads up. But they had planned to sort of do that. They were flooding different areas of the field, causing the Welsh defence to sort of contract and expand and everything else, and it just became an unstructured holy mess. And then it got them tries.
Capitalised on it,
but they don't actually, they've picked the heaviest test pack. They don't have play at the same level of intensity domestically as the other teams. And they aren't as fit. Very few teams are as fit as a Gatland Wales team. And they're certainly
not one of them at all.
So the catch-22 is like, you do that, which is what you need to do to disrupt Wales to get your advantage. But when you do, you're gonna feel the effects in the second half, and that's sort of what happened.
Well, like you were making the point that even in watching that first half, you didn't get the impression that France were going to do it, because they do run out of steam, but they also this particular team have no idea how to win a game when it's tight. Not only that, but they have all kinds of creative ways of losing them. Because it's really perplexing to watch. I'd say if I was a diehard French fan, I'd be weeping to look at it. It's just like, because as much as you need to make it broken up and unstructured, you're probably trusting your subs to make an impact. And to be fair, some of the subs did. Shout out to, was it Felix Lambie coming off the bench? He was great.
He was great.
So there are a few little positives there, but it's all, as we say, it may be for naught, because it could be a completely different team next week, and it's that lack of cohesion and consistency means that no one knows what they need to be doing in that last play. And then sure enough, Van Mahina, who was the captain at the time, apparently, unbeknownst to him, but he ends up throwing that mad pass that, like, literally no other second row from any other Six Nations team in any context would be throwing that pass.
No.
But it happened in France for France in the last few minutes.
There was no real plan for what to do with it. I didn't hate the making the game chaotic play and all of that and putting it on Wales, but then they need to have the smarts to know when to slow everything up. To just slow down, roll our big guys, put the ball in behind.
And
there's little nuggets. Sorry to step on you, but there's little nuggets that I'm seeing in Camille Lopez, that he's like going to be, like, he has the potential to be a really great international class 10. Like, he was, that drop goal on half time was the right call.
And it gets the whole crowd into it. Like, he's a very French 10 as well. Like, in some of those great teams, like, it doesn't become all about him at all.
No,
and he brings these wider players in, and their centre partnership was an exciting one. In ball in hand, it kind of worked because they can both pass the ball, and it led to some of that space in the first half. But the point I was going to make as well, as far as coaching is concerned, is like, they had those young guns out there for the first half, but they had two members of their backline in Huget and Medar, who we've been calling in Toulouse as well. Like, this is a problem Toulouse have had as well. Is that those guys are pretty old now, particularly for outside backs.
Yeah.
And like the amount of running and the amount of things they have to be doing, it's like if you have those impact men on the bench, why are you not taking those guys off? Why are you taking the younger, fitter guys out of your team to replace them with also...
Who did they take off? They took off Pinot for Fiku.
Yeah, which was crazy. And they took off Fofana, who, to be fair, was just coming back, so I kind of understand that one more.
Yeah.
But taking Pinot off, who had been class, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all for getting Fiku in there in the second half, break it up. He actually did make a few good plays as well, and they're persisting with him on the wing, which is part of that, like, flooding unusual channels with unusual players approach, which I'm not necessarily against. No. But it's like, Huget's the one making those sloppy errors, and Medar kind of was brilliant in the first half, faded and wasn't as impactful in the second, which has happened for Toulouse before as well. That was a mistake Toulouse made when they came to Leinster, was taking Ramos off instead of Medar and then paying the price almost immediately for it. And it's like, I'm all for having Medar there, having some of those senior heads to try and dictate that tempo of play, but get them out of there in the second half when your forwards are starting to tire and they're starting to tire. You need to replenish it and be able to up the tempo again.
Indeed. I don't really see much evidence that the senior heads are dictating anything though. For starters, like, I just think Ramos, just you brought him up there, is just uber talented. Get him in there. I mean, straight away. Ahead of the World Cup, they haven't got time to breed anybody in ahead of this World Cup. You know, they got Argentina and England in their pool. Like, if they want to get out of that, they're gonna have to be on their blow. And they need their best players in, and that's not going to include, you know, the old boys. That's going to include the young, talented guys, aggressive guys. The other thing is, like, I was sort of trying to make point about, like, what they could have done with Lopez, because I think we said in advance of the game last week that I felt that you know, we're going to tire. They've picked a super heavy pack. They're going to tire out before Wales are, and they're going to need to strike when chances are there, but then pace themselves. And a huge part of that would have been to attack, you know, Liam Williams from fullback in the backfield. It's not like Robbie Henshaw. It's not something he's necessarily used to. He plays on the wing for Saracens. He's played on the wing for Wales when he's
played a fullback for the Lions. He's more used to it than Henshaw, for sure.
He's more used to it than Henshaw. It's definitely not as glaring a weakness as Henshaw's was for Ireland.
I think actually in high ball terms there are a few better than Williams, but
that's not the kind of ball you want to be
positional cover. It's the low,
that's what
grass finders that you're looking for.
They needed to put that ball into the corners, and nothing is being coached into them, which is a shame. And then the other thing is that Para at 9 really, for me, like, as well as missing a load of kicks, really did fail to impose himself in any kind of meaningful way. And they're rich in talent in scrum halves who do more than what Para was doing for them. And you know, you talk about, like, well, Machino, Dupont, Saran, all, I think, are more viable options. I just don't see what Para's bringing at the moment. His kicking game is loose, if anything at all. He's just he wasn't bad from the base in the first half.
He was quick. He was recognising that the tempo they needed was quick, and so he was getting it out there.
But the tempo they needed at times was quick, but it made, like, a lot of what happened in the second half was the makings of the first half. I mean, people are talking about just sort of a different French team turned up. They started dropping balls. A lot of that is fatigue.
Because they're the least fit of all these. Well, no, probably of all of these Six Nations teams.
I would say probably, and a huge amount of that is fatigue, and that's why just street smarts. You know, when they had their couple of early tries, play the territory game, test Liam Williams, put the ball in behind, and that's the kind of thing that you'd be looking for your wise old head and Power to be doing, and didn't really see it. And then Lopez as well, as you say. He didn't impose himself in the game. I would have liked to see him do it more. I'd like to see France get a coach not from France. I think
never happened. Will it ever happen? Will they accept that? Michael Cheika's Stade Francais carnivals.
There seems to be more hunger in them to win games.
There definitely does, and there's still head scratching going on.
They're gutted whenever they lose a game, and there's a myriad of reasons, controllable reasons, why they keep losing tight games. And they every time.
As soon as it gets into that position where it's like, who's going to blink first, it's always going to be them against any of these top tiers teams, because the systems that are in place to get you through those tiring moments or those tough, trying last few minutes, like it's much easier for a team like Wales to trust in their systems, because as we've said in previous podcasts, like, Warren Gatland's been there for 10 years plus, and everyone knows how the system works. Like, in terms of their defence, it's very rare that any defensive errors come from anything other than an individual making a mistake. They tend to keep their shape even to the dying minutes. Whereas France, when they're trying to make something happen, as they were at the end, like they really do become all chaotic,
They
and
were in
everyone's
the lead when he threw that pass. But yeah,
it's true. Well, it's like, who's controlling this? Like, I don't know. No one.
That's what you
seems
would have liked to see, is just somebody. And Power wasn't on the pitch at that point, but somebody. But that's why there's no coaching.
Well,
in
to
it.
be like in the lead up to that, Baptiste Saran whipped it out somewhat sloppily. It has to be said. Camille kind of Lopez caught it above his head and awkwardly, so he just shipped it on to the nearest big man. You think with a mind towards taking it up and we'll go again, and the big man decided to float it out. Spent with a big 4-second in the air pass that George North was licking his lips at, and he grabbed that along with a man of the match award. And it's just
beyond crazy.
Yeah,
beyond
it's
crazy.
Like ludicrous Harry Carey in the middle of the field when you're in the lead in the last 10 minutes, and it's just symptomatic of like everything's heads up, which is good for kind of French flair. These guys like playing that way, but bad in terms of there's no way they can close out a game like that because there's just no trust in it, and like it's always going to fall short compared to a team with some structure and some semblance of knowledge of what they should be doing, and bringing subs in who cohesively roll in and stick to the system. And Wales, conversely, like I opened this by saying it was a dreadful way to start the tournament, which it was. The first half in Paris was a dreadful way for them to start the tournament, but such confidence gained. They really got out of jail free. They can thank Van Mahina for that massive loopy pass, but their fitness did show.
They showed some good hustle as well. They never lost focus. They never
or faith.
In the second half, they just stuck to their game. I'm sure the halftime message was, France are going to fade, boys. Yeah. France are going to fade. Start pushing it on them. Just get a score. They'll start doubting.
Yeah,
and
sure enough, and it played out literally play by play like that.
Yes, exactly.
It was also the addition of Bigger made a huge difference in terms of that structure. For the last 20 minutes, he was the only one who was putting those kicks through, who was recognizing how the game was going and trying to do something about it. Yeah, both sides, none of them were happening. And to be fair, again, was it Davies off the bench? Who came off the bench?
Gareth
Davis. Yeah. Dreadful game. He had
that's
few really, really poor touches that really kind of played France back into the game sometimes with that, whereas Bigger was the one half-back there who seemed to have an idea of how we were going to close this game out, and that includes actually Saran, because like bar a few,
Saran didn't do much.
He had one perfectly weighted box kick which was gathered by Fiku, only to be thrown away by Van Mahina. That was actually how that play started. Was a phenomenal catch from Fiku from a good box kick from Saran, which was all good play, but then so it's all very heads up and very chaotic still, and it's like when those halfbacks come in, it changes too much, and yet not enough at all as well. Like it just changes the look and the physique and the kind of style of the pass, but still doesn't change the plan because there was no plan. Yeah. Whereas in Wales' front, Bigger came on, and Anscombe had a very poor first half. Started to look a bit better in the second half. They gave him like 10 minutes, and then when Bigger came on, it just made Wales look more of a short team.
Anscombe definitely had a rough first half, but I don't know if they'll persist. I think they should persist with him. I mean, I thought there was enough positivity in there in that second half. I don't know that necessarily he was the problem.
No, well, this was it. Like there were players like Lavidi dropping balls in the mid,
Lavidi and Tipperick had great second halves.
They did, these were kind of coach killing errors from across the park. There was just like random drop balls, like 2 or 3 phases into a set that are unaccountable.
They started very slow with ball in hand, and defensively they were caught a little bit cold by France flooding certain channels at certain times and just causing them grief, and
a few poor decisions, including George North biting in, which he has a tendency to do, to let Huget in for the first try.
It's the exact same way that Ireland started their Grand Slam season last year. A very unconvincing performance in France when they coughed up the game and got out of jail, and showed some good hustle to do it. And Ireland's obviously was so dramatic that they got a lot of credit for it, which sort of gave them great media spin from what had been a terrible performance.
And
Wales have less of that because there was the tries that they did manufacture were such gratuitous mistakes from France. But they'll be quietly happy with that. They're going to get to play Italy this week, chance to play themselves into the tournament, and then prepare. They get that week off to prepare for that big England game. Which if they win, happy days. It's a curious start to the tournament because I think we think now really as the Triple Crown sides is probably your big four. And they're starting with away fixtures against Italy and France. Traveling around Europe, and then they're going to come home for the Triple Crown
Yeah.
all in a row to
Yeah.
finish the tournament.
Which
Home
is-
away, home.
It's easy. It'll be easy to sell those tickets after two wins on the road.
Yeah, it
you
will.
know.
Hell yeah, it will.
Yeah, and there'll be a hell of
The daffodils will be flowing.
the first time we hear that anthem
Oh,
in the Millennium Stadium, that's
Absolutely.
always a big part of the Six Nations.
Absolutely.
But
yeah,
no,
third
so-
week we won't hear it till. So.
Yeah, I know, that's a bit mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Wales, fair play on getting the job done. Yeah, a few hiccups, but I kind of backed them as a team that does build on momentum, and this was the road bump, the easily losable game that they could have lost from the position they put themselves in, that they managed to escape from, which shows good maturity in a side and good trust in their systems and what they're doing.
Yeah.
Conversely for France, dreadful, but yeah, hey ho, what's new? Like,
Well, listen, I was so optimistic when I was looking at Toulouse, but like just to sort of buttress the point on France, they've had however many, Fiji, Ireland, South Africa, Wales now, one score performances. They had the game, let it slip, all in Paris.
Yeah, these are at home.
Defeats and
they're just when they manage to do enough at home to get the game competitive, no matter who it's against, and still they just can't execute when it comes down to that.
You just see glimmers of hope of the talent, but there's no structure there. Val Mahina, the point we were referencing earlier, was made captain when Garado went off. He didn't know. Wayne Barnes went up to him to tell him something. He said, address the captain, and Wayne Barnes said, "You're the captain." Not that his coaches would know. That's from the horse's mouth. He that's a quote from him. He said that the coaches never told him.
What are you meant to make of that? Like, that makes no sense to me at all.
And more news from the week. Camille Shah the hooker from Racing, has been called up to the squad. Isn't going to make it into camp until Thursday when we're uploading this, because he was called up on the Monday because he's on holiday. He's away. So he's
come in fresh from the beach.
Yeah.
And get into camp and scrum for a bit.
Yeah, fly straight to Twickenham to play England, to link up with the boys. And
it's crazy, really.
Yeah, there's just it's rudderless and unprofessional. And no matter how much talent they get there, until they start to put structure and professionalism to their game, they're never going to be able to compete with the teams in the Six Nations outside of Italy. They're just these teams are getting too good.
Yeah,
I tell you, Scotland and Paris is a scary game for them, because they go back to back defeats in Paris. That's gonna be a lonely place for them.
Yeah,
but
that's a danger.
That's a scary game for them.
Yeah,
really is.
Yeah, I don't know what's to be made of it. Like, they could leak a load of tries. It could be a very pretty game, but if it gets down to it, I'd back Scotland as the more systems driven
both
team.
Sides are like, they'll try maybe now muscle Scotland, but if they play them at jouet, whoever gets the better of the first half, Scotland are going to get the better of the second.
Yeah,
and listen, it could be same old. So
potentially looking at that Fiji result as a template as well. Even it's worrying times for France, and I'm still hopeful
with all the talent in the world. This squad is there to be assembled and put together to go and actually challenge for a World Cup. Yeah, that's the bonkers thing in the middle of it all.
Yeah, and it could yet happen. It's been known to happen before.
As good as Aturia was at 7, he's a second row / number 6. There's guys like Camara in there. There's more breakdown players in there that aren't being given the go at 7, and there's just a lot. Personnel wise, but then structure wise, there's just a lot being done.
There's also I question their rows, because that young boy from Lyon, Felix Lambie, should be in there. Young French lad, get him in there.
He was looking like a young James Ryan.
He was
last year's James Ryan. He was just every contact.
Yeah.
He actually kept them in that game.
He did. Kept them in touch with some serious plays as well, including a charge down. Then he was onside. Then he gathered. Unreal. Making all sorts. So there's always glimmers of hope with France, but it's just nothing cohesive, which is always the shame.
You always feel like it's just those glimmers are not going to be nothing's going to come of them.
True.
And that's the shame of it, really. Thanks for watching the Overlap Rugby podcast. If you enjoyed that video, please like down below and subscribe for more videos. And please enter the comment section to join our conversation. Thanks.